and welcome to the news on Sansad TV, the show where we cover the top stories of the day in just 30 minutes. I'm Isha Shah. Let's get started with the headlines. Jaishankar underlines threat posed by terrorism at the UNSC meeting, seeks global efforts to stop the misuse of new technology being used by terrorists. Gujarat government approves formation of committee to examine the Uniform Civil Code and prepare a draft for its implementation. Prime Minister Modi addresses the Gujarat Rozgar Mela, says 10,000 youth given appointment letters in the state. Target is to fill 35,000 posts in the next 1 year. Sugar export ban extended till the 31st of October next year. Decision aimed at maintaining availability of supplies in the domestic market. And air quality in Delhi NCR reaches near severe category, except essential projects, construction work and demolition activities stopped. A look now at our Flash News segment. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman urges National Institute of Design to expand activities to areas like jewellery designing, urges students to tap global market for innovative business solutions. Union Minister Piyush Goyal asks business community to allocate at least 5% of budget for one district, one product. Foreign Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar meets Ghana counterpart, thanks her for active participation in UNSC special meeting. Election Commission to host a two-day global conference from the 31st of October in New Delhi on election management bodies. Engineer killed in car blast in Coimbatore last Sunday was possibly a suicide bomber, says NIA. US-based Indiaspora lists over 200 Indian origin people occupying leadership positions in 15 countries. Over 60 hold cabinet positions. Experts at IIM Bodh Gaya conference say 80% of the world's GDP comes from emerging markets, even as COVID-19 caused loss of production, employment and demand. Canada sanctions 35 more Russians, issues bonds to support the Ukrainian government. Paul Pelosi, husband of US House of Representatives Speaker Nancy Pelosi, recovering from surgery after being attacked by a hammer-wielding intruder. Tropical storm kills 47 people in Philippines, unleashes landslides in southern provinces, 60 feared buried. Our top story. India on Saturday pitched for global efforts to stop possible misuse of new technologies like encrypted messaging and cryptocurrency by non-state actors. Addressing the special meeting of the UN Security Council's Counter-Terrorism Committee, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar cautioned that social media platforms have turned into potent instruments in the toolkit of terror groups.
In recent years, terrorist groups, their ideological fellow travelers, particularly in open and liberal societies, and lone wolf attackers have significantly enhanced their capabilities by gaining access to these technologies. They use technology and money, and most importantly, the ethos of open societies to attack freedom, tolerance, and progress.
Jaishankar also said the counter-terror sanctions regime of the United Nations has been effective to put countries on notice that turn terrorism into a state-funded enterprise. The members also observed a minute's silence for the families of those killed in the 26/11 extremist attack and the survivors.
The UN Security Council, in the past 2 decades, has evolved an important architecture built primarily around the counter-terrorism sanctions regime to combat this menace. This has been very effective in putting those countries on notice that had turned terrorism into a state-funded enterprise. Despite this, the threat of terrorism is only growing and expanding, particularly in Asia and Africa.
UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres called for concerted global action to address the challenge of terrorist groups using new technologies for propaganda. In his message to the UNSC's Counter-Terrorism Committee meeting held in New Delhi, Guterres expressed concern over the misuse of new technologies by various terrorist groups to spread propaganda, incite conflict, and radicalize the youth. Representatives of all 15 member countries of the UNSC attended the anti-terror meeting in New Delhi. Moving on to Gujarat, where ahead of the elections, the BJP government in the state has decided to constitute a committee to implement the Uniform Civil Code. Gujarat's Minister of State for Home Affairs, Harsh Sanghvi, said the state cabinet meeting approved the proposal to form the committee. This is believed to be the last meeting of the Bhupendra Bhai Patel-led cabinet ahead of the announcement of the election schedule next week. Earlier, BJP governments of Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh had announced the implementation of the Uniform Civil Code in their respective states.
गुजरात राज्य के मुख्यमंत्री श्री भूपेंद्र भाई पटेल ने आज गुजरात की कैबिनेट की बैठक में एक ऐतिहासिक निर्णय लिया है। गुजरात की कैबिनेट की बैठक में यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड के अमलीकरण के लिए एक कमेटी का गठन करना ये तय किया है।
Now, Prime Minister Modi addressed the Gujarat Rozgar Mela through a video message on Saturday. He asserted that his government is working to provide 10 lakh jobs. He further said the number of government jobs for youth will increase. Gujarat Chief Minister Bhupendra Bhai Patel distributed appointment letters to 5,000 people from the Gujarat Panchayat Service Board at the event. 8,000 people were given appointment letters by the Gujarat Sub-Inspector Recruitment Board and Lok Rakshak Recruitment Board at the event. News from the economy now, where in order to maintain supplies of sugar in the domestic market, the government has extended restrictions on its export till the 31st of October 2023. All of the terms and conditions in this regard will remain unchanged. The restrictions were to end on the 31st of October this year. India has been the largest producer of sugar and also the second largest exporter this year. The government will once again review sugarcane and sugar production estimates in January next year. News from the capital now, where amid worsening pollution levels in Delhi, the centre's air quality panel on Saturday directed authorities in the NCR to immediately implement curbs under Stage 3 of the Graded Response Action Plan. The restrictions include a ban on construction and demolition activities, except for essential projects concerning national security, defence, railways and metro rail, among others. The Commission for Air Quality Management also said that the authorities might impose restrictions on the plying of BS3 petrol and BS4 diesel four-wheelers in the NCR region, considering the worsening air quality. Delhi's 24-hour average air quality index stood at 397 at 4 p.m. today, the worst since January. And time now for a look at some more news from across the nation. Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Saturday spoke to Qatar's Amir Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani as the two leaders agreed to jointly celebrate 50 years of diplomatic relations between the two countries in 2023. Modi also conveyed his best wishes for a successful Football World Cup in Qatar. Prime Minister Modi will lay the foundation stone of a C-295 MW transport aircraft manufacturing project for the Indian Air Force at Vadodara in Gujarat on Sunday. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh, Minister of Civil Aviation Jyotiraditya Scindia and Gujarat Chief Minister Bhupendra Bhai Patel and other dignitaries will also attend the function. The Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh High Court on Saturday allowed a revision petition of J&K police in the 2003 Nadimarg massacre case. The verdict means that the trial, which had abruptly halted more than a decade ago, can now resume. The judgment pronounced today afternoon ordered the trial court to take all measures for ensuring examination of witnesses by showing commission and or recording their statements through video conferencing. Top commanders of the Navy will conduct a comprehensive review of the country's maritime security in a 4-day conference beginning Monday. It will discuss the Ukraine crisis and the geopolitical turmoil caused by China increasing its influence in the Indian Ocean. The Indian Space Research Organisation has successfully carried out the flight acceptance hot test of a CE-20 engine for a duration of 25 seconds in its high-altitude test facility at Mahendragiri. The test happened on Friday. This engine is earmarked for the next GSLV Mk3 mission, the LVM-3M3, identified for the launch of the next set of 36 OneWeb India One satellites. Time now for a short break in the bulletin. Lots more coming up on the other side. Do stay tuned.
The importance of microchips and semiconductors in the future of warfare.
The drones have reached the battlefield. The future aerial combat will be both in terms of main platforms and in terms of small boats.
In the last few years, the importance of the chip as a strategic weapon has increased.
Watch our special presentations in The Defenders only on Sansad TV.
Welcome back. Let's take a look now at all the latest from the Russia-Ukraine war front. Russia claimed on Saturday that British Navy personnel blew up the Russian-built Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2 gas pipelines last month, directly accusing a leading NATO member of sabotaging critical Russian infrastructure. The Defense Ministry did not give evidence for its claim. Britain's Defense Ministry declined immediate comment. Ukrainian and Russian troops dug into muddy trench lines in Kherson and exchanged rocket, mortar and artillery fire on Friday. Ukrainian military regulations prohibited identification of the location bordering Russian-held Kherson. Ukrainian soldiers manning a mortar hidden in bushes fired high explosive rounds at Russian positions. Ukrainian President Zelensky expressed doubt over Russia's declaration that its partial mobilization was over, saying the poor performance of pro-Moscow forces meant that more men could be needed. Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu earlier said the call-up of 3 lakh reservists to fight in Ukraine was complete. Zelensky said that very soon Russia may need a new wave of people to send to the war. The Ukrainian military on Saturday claimed that Russian forces continued the withdrawal from Kherson. A social media update said large numbers of injured and sick Russian soldiers were being taken out of hospitals in Kherson. The military's claims could not be verified. Russian soldiers are slowly edging closer in their attempt to seize Bakhmut that has remained in Ukrainian hands during the 8-month war. While much of the fighting in the last month has unfolded in southern Ukraine's Kherson region, the battle heating up around Bakhmut demonstrates Russian President Putin's desire for visible gains after weeks of clear setbacks in Ukraine. Ukrainian forces near the northern border with Belarus are preparing for a possible Russian assault from across the frontier. Ukrainian border guards are keeping a close watch on the region, braving intermittent Russian shelling. Moscow has accused the UK of helping Ukraine plan a drone attack on its Black Sea fleet in the Crimean port of Srivastava and said that one of its ships suffered minor damage. A Moscow's defense ministry statement said The ships of the Black Sea Fleet that were attacked by terrorists are involved in ensuring the security of the grain corridor. And now, news from some other parts of the globe. Incumbent Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro and his challenger Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva faced off in a final debate before the runoff election on Sunday, focusing mainly on post-pandemic economic hardship. The issue is expected to sway some of the few undecided voters in the tight race between the far-right incumbent and the leftist challenger. Let's find out more in this report. Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro and his challenger Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva clashed on Friday night in a debate broadcast on the nation's biggest TV network. Da Silva, who leads in opinion polls as he seeks to return to the job he held from 2003 to 2010, once more pledged to boost spending on the poor, though he did not outline a clear plan on how he would achieve that. He also highlighted that Bolsonaro's government hasn't yet provided an increase to the minimum wage above inflation. Bolsonaro quickly promised to lift the minimum wage from $229 a month to $265 next year, though that wasn't included in his 2023 budget proposal sent to Congress. He said that the economic downturn that accompanied the COVID-19 pandemic had prevented a minimum wage boost, but pointed to firming economic activity. The two had only one prior face-to-face debate earlier this month, with a similar format that allots candidates a bank of time to use as they see fit, either addressing voters or asking questions of their opponent. Da Silva criticized the handling of the pandemic that killed more than 680,000 Brazilians. The most tense moment of the debate was when Bolsonaro called Da Silva to stand next to him as he answered a question. "Stay here, man," the president said. The former president shot back, "I don't want to be anywhere near you," and then turned his back. Bureau Report, Sansad TV. Now, those in Denmark felt the Ukraine war move a lot closer home last month when the Nord Stream gas pipeline ruptured near the island of Bornholm. The rocky Baltic Sea island of about 40,000 people has a strategically important location between Denmark's capital Copenhagen and the Russian city of Kaliningrad. Let's take a look. World leaders have called the damage to the Nord Stream pipelines in the Baltic Sea that connect Russia and Germany under the sea an act of sabotage, but it still remains unclear who might be behind the detonations. Since the Ukraine war, there have been more volunteers to the Home Guard in Denmark, and training has refocused nearly exclusively on military drills. Following the pipeline ruptures, Sweden and Denmark have cordoned off the area and launched investigations, both finding that powerful explosions had been the cause. Denmark's military placed 2 F-16 fighter jets on the island this year, and naval activity has increased in the area. Danes are voting on Tuesday in a parliamentary election where geopolitical uncertainty and economic turmoil are likely to impact voting. Although more Danes worry about household expenses now than during the worst years of the 2008 financial crisis, a number of them are anxious about Russian aggression after its invasion of Ukraine. However, poll observers say that it is difficult to pinpoint just one topic that had made it to the top of the election agenda. Bureau Report, Sansad TV. And now, more news from around the globe in a World Wrap segment. A gunman who killed 15 people at a major Shiite holy site in southern Iran earlier this week has died. Tehran's paramilitary Revolutionary Guard issued a new warning to Iranians joining protests that have roiled the country since last month. Iranian authorities said the gunman died in a hospital from injuries sustained during his arrest. Wednesday's attack on Shah Chirag and Shiraz was claimed by the militant Islamic State group. In an unusual move, police on Saturday barred hotels and guest houses in Islamabad from providing accommodation to the participants of the long march led by former Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan to force the government to announce a date for early general elections. The Pakistan Electronic Media Regulatory Authority has also directed TV channels not to live telecast PTI leaders' speeches and the long march. Nancy Pelosi's spokesperson said that doctors expect her 82-year-old husband, Paul Pelosi, to make a full recovery despite suffering a fractured skull in an attack at their home. 42-year-old David DePep, demanding to see U.S. House Speaker Pelosi, broke into their San Francisco home and attacked her husband with a hammer early on Friday. The assault stoked fears about political violence ahead of the 8 November midterm elections. Police and demonstrators clashed outside the Colombian Attorney General's office in Bogota on Friday after a march to demand the release of anti-government protesters detained during the social media uprising in 2021. Hundreds of students had marched peacefully to the public prosecutor's office, but when some of them tried to remove fencing around the building, police used tear gas to disperse them. Manila and nearby towns braced on Saturday for tropical storm Nalgae that has killed 47 people, mostly because of landslides in southern provinces of the Philippines. The Southeast Asian nation's disaster agency reduced the death toll to 45 from 72, with rescue workers still searching for 18 missing persons. Now, levels of the most dangerous greenhouse gases, including carbon dioxide, nitrous oxide and methane, have increased to record levels, according to the World Meteorological Organization. The WMO says that the latest recordings show urgent action is needed to cut greenhouse gas emissions and prevent global temperatures rising even further. Let's take a look at this report.
A World Met Organization report says 3 main greenhouse gases hit record high levels last year. Greenhouse gases trap heat in our atmosphere and are a major contributor to global warming and climate change. The report comes just days before delegates from around the world meet to discuss climate change at COP27 conference in Egypt. Agriculture is a major source of greenhouse gases like nitrous oxide and methane. The combustion of fossil fuels is another. Of the 3 main types of greenhouse gases, carbon dioxide, methane and nitrous oxide, the biggest jump between 2020 and 21 was in methane. Methane is more potent at trapping heat than carbon dioxide, but doesn't stay in the atmosphere as long as carbon dioxide, and there's 200 times more carbon dioxide in the air than methane. 3/5 of the methane we produce comes from livestock, rice farming, the use of fossil fuels and biomass burning and landfills. The rest comes from natural sources like wetlands and turbines. Since pre-industrial times, which WMO sets at 1750, CO2 concentrations in the air have increased by nearly 50%. Methane is up 162% and nitrous oxide, whose human-made sources are things like biomass burning, industrial processes and fertilizer use, is up about 1/4. CO2 remains the single most important greenhouse gas generated by human activity, mainly from burning of fossil fuels and cement production, amounting to about 2/3 of the warming effect on the climate. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
And time now for all the latest from the world of sports. Doubles pair of S. Rankireddy and Chirag Shetty reached the final of the French Open badminton tournament, beat South Korean pair 21-18, 21-14 in the semi-finals. In a World T20 match played at Sydney, New Zealand today defeated Sri Lanka by 65 runs. Glenn Phillips was the star of the match, scoring 104 of 64 balls. Sri Lanka were all out, chasing target of 168. World number 1 T20 team India faces South Africa tomorrow in a match that might decide the table toppers from Group 2 at the World T20. The match is to be played at Perth. Indian men's hockey team will aim for a disciplined effort against Spain in the FIH Pro League at Bhubaneswar on Sunday. The Indians fought back from a 1-3 deficit to beat New Zealand 4-3 in the opener on Friday. And Hyderabad FC reclaimed top spot in the Indian Super League, beating FC Goa by 1 goal. Goa have more shots on goal and better ball possession. Severio's 18th minute strike proves the winner for Hyderabad. And with that, it's a wrap of the bulletin this weekend. Stay tuned to Sansad TV for all the latest updates round the clock. Do share with us your feedback on our social media platforms. Thank you for being here. Good night.